History as a behavioral science. History is a behavioral science. It is the majesty, misery, and mundane drudgery of the past lives of humans, as they jotted it down. As Oscar Wilde put it, and I here paraphrase it, we are verbs, not nouns. Our whole existence is one action of sorts, one big behaviour. Or rather, the traces of that existence are the traces of behaviours. In some senses, then, behaviours are the traces of thoughts. History is also a cognitive science, though less directly. Of course, as living creatures, all of these are but divisions of biology, and on it goes. The current scope of this paper will be at the behavioural level, which necessarily dips into the cognitive. Perhaps I'll return to the other layers another time. In history as currently conceived, one can read all the documents 1,000 times and ponder over them till the cows come home, but without an understanding of humans as beings, which draws on all disciplines that approach human behaviour, well, then vital pieces of the puzzle will always be missing. The directionality can go both ways. After all, what was primatologist Jane Goodall, in her early years especially, other than an historian? Goodall fundamentally wrote a history of the chimpanzees of Gombe from the time of her arrival until the time she stopped doing intensive fieldwork. This is true of all primatologists of similarly diachronic studies, and likewise of anthropologists who take more than a mere snapshot of a community with whom they work, portraying them over time. Actually, much history is only history because it is deemed historical. Some historical evidence consists of this self-same snapshot style, whereby a certain occurrence or societal trait is commented on without further context or historiography, merely remarked upon. However, if this is done in Tang Dynasty China, Ottoman Turkey, or Augustan Rome, this is history, whereas if it is done in a community without a previous written tradition, but even in, say, the 1920s, this is somehow anthropology. History, then, is firmly intertwined with its fellow behavioral sciences. One might even be tempted to ask where the borders and boundaries even lie. This is no truer than when considering history from the broadest of perspectives. History is one of the core humanities, a social science, a record of anthropology from the birth of writing onwards, and the written analysis of human psychology. Indeed, it is the outpouring of human emotions about individuals and the societies in which they or others lived. History is a behavioral science, but what are its practitioners? Without a wider perspective, the finest details do not come together into a whole. Without the broader perspective, will, caprice, and pseudo-scientific notions are liable to slip into the culture of historical research. There are many historians who do it well. Their claims are proportional to the evidence they have, and yet also engage widely with scholarship as a whole. However, there are those who do not. History is a behavioral science. Let us make the practitioners into behavioral scientists.